OMG. Your soulmate cut someone off after finding out this about you? Don't scroll. Listen carefully. This message is for you. Your heart needs to hear this right now. The evening had settled into perfect silence. Outside, the wind gently moved through the trees while golden light faded beyond the horizon. It was the kind of evening when everything appeared ordinary, yet sometimes the most meaningful changes begin during life's quietest moments. Somewhere in this imagined story, your soulmate sat alone with their thoughts, reflecting on conversations they had recently heard about you. Some people spoke with confidence, claiming they knew exactly who you were. Others offered opinions built on assumptions rather than experience. Your imagined soulmate listened carefully but noticed something unusual. The more dramatic the stories became, the less convincing they sounded. Instead of accepting every opinion, they decided to observe for themselves. Over the following days, they quietly paid attention, not searching for perfection, but simply looking for honesty. What they discovered surprised them completely. They noticed how you treated people who could offer you nothing in return. They saw patience instead of pride, respect instead of arrogance, and quiet generosity that expected no recognition. They watched you encourage someone who was struggling without announcing it to the world. They noticed you remained calm during misunderstandings instead of rushing to prove yourself right. Those ordinary moments revealed far more about your character than any rumor ever could. Little by little, they realized that genuine integrity often speaks in whispers while gossip usually arrives at full volume. That simple observation changed the way they viewed not only you but also the people surrounding them. They began asking themselves how many opinions they had accepted throughout life without ever taking time to discover the truth firsthand. They realized that assumptions often grow where curiosity disappears, while understanding requires patience, humility, and a willingness to look beyond appearances. The lesson stayed with them long after those conversations had ended. They understood that every person deserves to be known through their actions rather than through someone else's interpretation. They are about recognizing the difference between assumption and understanding. Don't scroll. Listen carefully. This message is for you. Your heart needs to hear this right now. As the days passed, your imagined soulmate found themselves noticing patterns they had ignored for years. One particular person always seemed eager to criticize others. Every conversation eventually drifted toward comparison, judgment, or subtle discouragement disguised as concern. At first these discussions had seemed harmless because they happened so often. But after seeing your quiet character for themselves, those same conversations felt different. They began wondering whether constant negativity had slowly shaped the way they viewed people without them even realizing it. They remembered moments when they had doubted someone's intentions simply because another person insisted they should. Looking back now, they regretted how easily assumptions had replaced genuine understanding. Instead of becoming angry, they became thoughtful. They asked themselves difficult questions. Do these conversations leave me feeling inspired or exhausted? Do they encourage compassion or criticism? Am I becoming more patient because of these friendships, or am I becoming more judgmental without noticing? Honest answers slowly emerged. They realized that every relationship influences the direction of our thoughts. The people we spend time with quietly shape our habits, expectations, and attitudes toward the world. That realization was uncomfortable, but it also offered an opportunity to choose differently. Rather than blaming others, your imagined soulmate decided to take responsibility for the environment they allowed around their own heart. They understood that healthy boundaries are not acts of rejection. They are thoughtful choices that protect kindness, honesty, and emotional well-being. From that day forward, they promised themselves they would invest more time in relationships built upon encouragement, mutual respect, truthful conversations, and genuine care. Don't scroll. Listen carefully. This message is for you. Your heart needs to hear this right now. Later that week, while quietly enjoying a cup of coffee, your imagined soulmate happened to glance at the cafe clock displaying 11:11. Earlier that afternoon a receipt ended with 222, and on the walk home they smiled after noticing 444 above the entrance of an old building they had passed hundreds of times before. Many people enjoy treating repeating numbers like these as reminders to pause, breathe, and reflect. Whether viewed as meaningful coincidences or simply personal prompts for mindfulness, they welcomed each appearance as a gentle invitation to ask one meaningful question: are my daily choices helping me become the kind of person I hope others remember? Instead of searching those moments for certainty about tomorrow, they focused on the present day. They chose to thank a colleague who had quietly supported them during difficult weeks. They apologized for a misunderstanding they had delayed addressing. They encouraged a friend who had almost given up on an important dream. Each small decision strengthened their belief that meaningful relationships are not built through dramatic speeches but through dependable actions repeated consistently over time. They began noticing something remarkable. The more they practiced honesty, gratitude, and patience, the lighter they felt inside. Peace was not arriving because circumstances had suddenly become perfect. It was growing because they had stopped allowing negativity to decide how they would respond to the world. Don't scroll. Listen carefully. This message is for you. Your heart needs to hear this right now. Then came the conversation that quietly changed everything. The same person who had spent so much time spreading rumors approached them once again, eager to continue discussing you. They expected agreement, another long conversation filled with assumptions and criticism. But this time your imagined soulmate responded differently. They listened respectfully without adding to the gossip. When negative comments continued, they calmly replied, "I think it's only fair that we allow people to be known by their actions instead of by rumors." Silence followed. The conversation ended almost immediately. There was no argument, no raised voices, and no dramatic confrontation. Instead, your imagined soulmate simply recognized that continuing such conversations no longer aligned with the values they wanted guiding their life. Over the following days, they naturally created distance from that unhealthy influence. Not out of anger, but out of a desire to protect their peace and surround themselves with relationships built on trust, encouragement, honesty, and respect. Walking home beneath the evening sky, they felt an unfamiliar calm settling over their heart. It was the quiet confidence that comes from choosing integrity over approval. Yet just as they reached their front door, their phone vibrated unexpectedly. A single notification appeared on the screen. It wasn't another rumor. It wasn't another opinion. It was a message connected to you that would reveal one surprising truth and change the direction of this story forever. Don't scroll. Listen carefully. This message is for you. Your heart needs to hear this right now. Imagine this as an emotional, inspirational story created for reflection and entertainment. It is not a claim that a real soulmate has taken a specific action or that these events are happening in real life. The notification remained glowing on your imagined soulmate's phone as they stood quietly beneath the evening sky, wondering why such a simple message suddenly felt so significant. Taking a slow breath, they unlocked the screen and began reading. It wasn't a dramatic confession or an unbelievable revelation. Instead, it was a sincere message from someone who had recently spent time with you. The message described your willingness to help others without expecting praise, your habit of encouraging people during difficult moments, and the quiet strength you showed when life became challenging. Every sentence echoed what your imagined soulmate had already begun discovering for themselves. Suddenly, the stories they had heard from negative voices no longer made sense. The contrast between rumors and genuine experiences became impossible to ignore. They realized that assumptions often grow louder than truth simply because they spread more quickly, while genuine character reveals itself patiently through consistent actions. They found themselves thinking back to every conversation in which your name had been mentioned. Small details that once seemed convincing now appeared incomplete or unfair. They recognized how easy it is for people to accept repeated opinions without questioning their accuracy. That realization did not fill them with anger toward anyone. Instead, it inspired humility. They understood that they, too, had sometimes formed opinions before taking time to understand another person's full story. Quietly, they promised themselves they would never again allow gossip to become a substitute for personal understanding. They wanted their future relationships to be built upon honesty, direct communication, and respect rather than assumptions and speculation. Over the following days, they paid even closer attention to the people around them. They noticed that those who constantly criticized others rarely spoke about improving themselves. Their conversations revolved around comparison instead of encouragement, judgment instead of compassion, and suspicion instead of trust. Your imagined soulmate slowly realized that spending time in those conversations left them feeling emotionally exhausted rather than inspired. They asked themselves a simple but powerful question: do the people around me bring out the qualities I admire most, or are they encouraging habits I no longer wish to carry? The answer became clearer each day. Healthy relationships encouraged honesty without cruelty, accountability without humiliation, and growth without competition. They understood that choosing better influences was not an act of rejection but an act of personal responsibility. One peaceful afternoon, while waiting in line at a small cafe, they happened to notice 11:11 glowing softly on a digital clock. Later, the receipt ended with 222, and on the journey home they smiled after spotting 444 above the entrance to a familiar building. Many people enjoy treating repeating numbers like these as reminders to pause, breathe, and reflect. Whether viewed as meaningful coincidences or simply personal prompts for mindfulness, your imagined soulmate chose to let each appearance inspire a thoughtful question: have my choices today reflected patience, honesty, gratitude, and kindness? Rather than searching those moments for certainty about tomorrow, they focused on today's opportunities to become a better listener, a more dependable friend, and a more compassionate person. They began thanking people whose quiet support had often gone unnoticed. They apologized sincerely when they recognized past mistakes. They encouraged others without expecting anything in return. Little by little, they discovered that peace grows through everyday actions rather than extraordinary moments. Their life did not suddenly become free from challenges, but their perspective changed completely. The more intentionally they chose kindness, the less space remained for unnecessary negativity. Eventually, the person who had repeatedly spread unfair assumptions approached them once again, expecting another conversation filled with criticism. This time, however, your imagined soulmate gently interrupted the familiar pattern. With calm respect they said, "I've learned that people deserve to be known through their actions, not through rumors. I'd rather spend my time encouraging others than judging people I don't fully understand." The words were spoken without anger, pride, or the desire to win an argument. They were simply honest. The conversation ended quietly, and over the days that followed, your imagined soulmate naturally stepped away from that unhealthy influence. It wasn't because they hated anyone. It was because they had finally realized that protecting their peace sometimes means choosing relationships that encourage growth instead of constant negativity. As they walked home that evening, they felt lighter than they had in years. They knew they could not control what everyone else believed, but they could choose the values guiding their own life. Yet they had no idea that another unexpected message was already on its way. One that would reveal a surprising truth about your connection and leave them facing the most important decision of the entire story. Don't scroll. Listen carefully. This message is for you. Your heart needs to hear this right now. Imagine this as an emotional, inspirational story created for reflection and entertainment. It is not a claim that a real soulmate has taken a specific action or that these events are happening in real life. The evening felt unusually peaceful as your imagined soulmate continued walking home, still thinking about the quiet decision they had made to distance themselves from constant negativity. For the first time in a long while, silence no longer felt uncomfortable. It felt freeing. Just as they reached their front door, their phone vibrated again. Curious, they unlocked the screen and discovered another message waiting. This one came from someone who had recently crossed paths with you, not someone interested in gossip, but someone who simply wanted to share a genuine experience. The message spoke about your quiet generosity, your willingness to encourage people who were struggling, and the calm way you handled misunderstandings without trying to prove yourself right. There was no exaggeration, no dramatic language, only honest observations gathered through everyday moments. As your imagined soulmate read each sentence, they realized that every positive detail matched what they had already begun noticing for themselves. In that moment, the contrast between rumors and reality became impossible to ignore. They understood that truth often reveals itself slowly through consistent actions, while assumptions spread quickly because they demand very little evidence. They found themselves reflecting on every conversation in which people had confidently claimed to know who you were. Looking back, they realized that many of those opinions had been built upon fragments of information rather than genuine understanding. Instead of feeling angry, they felt grateful for having taken the time to discover the truth firsthand. That gratitude soon turned inward as well. They admitted that there had been times in their own life when they had misunderstood others because they accepted popular opinions too easily. Quietly, they promised themselves that from this day forward they would choose curiosity before judgment, conversation before assumption, and compassion before criticism. That promise became far more valuable than simply proving someone else wrong. Over the next few days, they noticed subtle but meaningful changes in the way they approached every relationship. They listened more carefully instead of preparing immediate responses. They asked sincere questions rather than making quick conclusions. They thanked people more often, especially those whose quiet support had gone unnoticed for years. They apologized without excuses whenever they recognized their own mistakes. With every thoughtful choice, they discovered that healthy relationships are strengthened through humility, patience, honesty, and mutual respect rather than constant agreement. One afternoon, while enjoying a peaceful walk, they happened to notice 1111 glowing on a nearby digital display. Later, a receipt ended with 222, and before returning home they smiled after spotting 444 above the entrance of an old building they had passed countless times before. Many people enjoy treating repeating numbers like these as reminders to pause, breathe, and reflect. Whether viewed as meaningful coincidences or simply personal prompts for mindfulness, your imagined soulmate welcomed each appearance as an invitation to ask one simple question. Have my actions today reflected the kind of person I hope to become? Instead of searching those moments for predictions about the future, they focused entirely on the choices available in the present. They volunteered their time to help someone expecting nothing in return. They encouraged a colleague who had begun doubting themselves. They spent an evening with family without allowing distractions to interrupt meaningful conversation. Slowly they realized that peace does not arrive through extraordinary events alone. It grows quietly through dependable habits repeated every day. The more they practiced gratitude and kindness, the less room remained for resentment and unnecessary conflict. Eventually, the person who had repeatedly filled conversations with rumors reached out once again, hoping to continue discussing you. This time your imagined soulmate responded with calm confidence. Rather than arguing, they simply said, "I've learned that people deserve to be known through their own actions. I don't want to build opinions from stories that may never tell the whole truth." There was no anger in their voice, only sincerity. The conversation ended respectfully, but something important had changed. They realized that protecting their peace sometimes requires stepping away from conversations that repeatedly encourage negativity. It wasn't an act of revenge or rejection. It was a decision to make room for healthier friendships built upon encouragement, trust, honesty, and genuine respect. As the sun slowly disappeared beyond the horizon, your imagined soulmate felt lighter than they had in years. Yet just as they believed this chapter had reached its conclusion, their phone vibrated one final time. A new message appeared on the screen. It wasn't from the person they had distanced themselves from. Instead, it contained an unexpected invitation connected to you. An invitation that would challenge their courage, test everything they had learned about honesty, and begin the most meaningful chapter of this entire story. Don't scroll. Listen carefully. This message is for you. Your heart needs to hear this right now. Imagine this as an emotional, inspirational story created for reflection and entertainment. It is not a claim that a real soulmate has taken a specific action or that these events are happening in real life. Your imagined soulmate looked at the unexpected invitation on their phone for several long moments before opening it. Their heartbeat quickened, not because they expected a dramatic revelation, but because they had learned that even the simplest conversations can quietly change the direction of a person's life. The message invited them to attend a small gathering where mutual friends would be spending time together. Your name appeared among those expected to attend. For a brief moment they considered declining. Old doubts tried to return, reminding them of past misunderstandings and encouraging them to avoid uncertainty altogether. But this time something inside them had changed. They realized that fear had already stolen enough opportunities throughout their life. They decided that honesty deserved at least one chance to speak louder than hesitation. Arriving at the gathering, they discovered that the atmosphere was relaxed and welcoming. People laughed, shared stories, and enjoyed one another's company without trying to impress anyone. As the evening unfolded, your imagined soulmate quietly observed the way you interacted with those around you. They noticed you listening carefully while others spoke instead of waiting for your turn to talk. They watched you encourage someone who seemed unusually quiet, thank the host for the invitation, and treat every person with the same level of respect regardless of their background or position. None of these actions were dramatic, yet together they confirmed everything your imagined soulmate had slowly begun discovering. Character is revealed through ordinary moments repeated consistently over time. That understanding brought unexpected clarity. They realized they had finally stopped measuring people by rumors, assumptions, or first impressions. Instead, they had learned to value patience, observation, and honest communication. During the evening, they happened to notice 1111 glowing on a nearby digital display. Later, a receipt from a cafe ended with 222, and while leaving the gathering they smiled after seeing 444 displayed above the entrance of a familiar building. Many people enjoy treating repeating numbers like these as reminders to pause, breathe, and reflect. Whether viewed as meaningful coincidences or simply personal prompts for mindfulness, your imagined soulmate chose to let each appearance encourage one quiet question: am I becoming someone who brings more kindness into the lives of others? Rather than searching for certainty about what tomorrow might bring, they focused on making thoughtful choices today. They decided to speak sincerely instead of assuming people already understood how much they mattered. They apologized whenever they recognized mistakes instead of protecting their pride. They celebrated other people's achievements without comparison and offered encouragement without expecting recognition. Little by little, they discovered that meaningful relationships are built through consistency rather than perfection. As the evening came to an end, the person whose negativity had once influenced so many conversations attempted one final time to draw your imagined soulmate back into gossip and criticism. This time there was no uncertainty at all. With calm respect they replied, "I'd rather remember people for the kindness I've witnessed than for stories I can't verify." Life feels much lighter when we choose understanding instead of assumption. Those words ended the conversation peacefully. There was no argument, no dramatic confrontation, only a quiet decision to continue walking a healthier path. In that moment, your imagined soulmate realized that the greatest change had never been about cutting someone out of their life. The true transformation had taken place within their own heart. They had learned that protecting peace sometimes means protecting the values that make peace possible: honesty, compassion, humility, gratitude, patience, and integrity. As they walked home beneath a sky filled with stars, they no longer worried about proving anyone wrong or convincing others to agree with their choices. They understood that genuine peace rarely comes from changing everyone else's opinion. It comes from living according to principles that remain steady regardless of what others think. Before going to sleep, they reflected on everything that had happened over the previous weeks. They smiled, grateful not because every question had been answered, but because they had become a wiser, kinder, and more thoughtful person through the journey. If this imagined story leaves you with one message, let it be this: people deserve to be known by their consistent actions rather than by rumors, assumptions, or passing opinions. Healthy relationships grow through honest conversations, dependable kindness, mutual respect, forgiveness where appropriate, and the courage to seek understanding before reaching conclusions. Every day offers another opportunity to become the kind of person whose presence brings encouragement instead of fear, hope instead of negativity, and peace instead of conflict. In the end, that quiet transformation becomes the greatest gift anyone can carry into every relationship they build.